Good evening, I'm Jody Applegate.
And I'm Larry Mendte. Tonight, frustration and desperation grows into anger. People are cold, people are tired, most of all, people need help. And a number that sadly will most likely climb as the days go by. The superstorm is now responsible for 157 deaths. 80 of those are here in the United States, 38 in New York City alone, and 12 are dead in New Jersey. Gas stations are running on empty, and so is patience. 50% of stations in New York aren't pumping gas. 50% of gas stations in New Jersey also not pumping gas because they have no electricity or because they ran out of gas. All of this can create some testy exchanges like this one, which you'll see more of in just a couple of minutes.
You're gonna interview this kid? Is that what you're gonna do? Get out of my face.
He just cut in front of the
right here, just cut the line.
One of the saddest stories, one of the most desperate searches of the stories we've reported over the last couple of days comes to us from Staten Island, where a mother today had her, by far her worst fear become a reality when her two little boys were found.
And they were found heartbreakingly close to where they were last seen. Erica Pizzi joins us now live from Midland Beach, Staten Island. Erica?
It's not just in Staten Island. There's several areas in Queens and Long Island. Over in New Jersey, there's a lot of people saying, what about us? How come we haven't got aid? They're calling themselves the forgotten people. Arthur Chien is in one of those locations right now in Broad Channel. Arthur. All right, thanks, Mary. It's good to know that FEMA responded so quickly after we talked about them at 5 o'clock, so now we know they're listening. FEMA, they need you in Staten Island, and they need you in Broad Channel ASAP. We can check in tomorrow to see if they show up there.
FEMA was so controversial after Hurricane Katrina. You would expect them to be ready to pounce on the next big disaster.
It's a great point. I don't know what's going on. In the middle of a campaign, you would think they would have been there immediately. It's been 4 days. It's going to be 5 days tomorrow, and then some areas aren't going to see them till the weekend. It is the same thing all over again.
My advice to the people in Staten Island is do not donate to the American Red Cross. Let them get their money elsewhere. Because we have hundreds and hundreds of people in shelters throughout Staten Island. And many of them, when the shelters close, have nowhere to go.
Did he go too far, saying don't give to the Red Cross? Because no one can deny the Red Cross does wonderful work and has for a long time all around the world.
No, but it's like if you were to give to an organization and then all of a sudden your family needed help and they weren't there for you. Of course you'd say, I'm not going to give them any money anymore. I don't think he really meant that. You know, I think that, and you heard him tonight, he took it back a little bit, but he was angry, he was mad, he was passionate. People are hurting, people he knows, people all around him, people he represents. Of course he should be angry. And I say good for him. I'd like to see some more of these politicians get angry.
And you know what? He got action.
He did. So he worked for his constituency. Good for him. He backed off on his comments. He handled it perfectly. He did what a politician is supposed to do. He made noise about a problem, and he got action for the problem. So good for him.
But you can enjoy the marathon and donate to people suffering from Hurricane Sandy. I mean, it's a slippery slope. Should the Giants not play on Sunday? Should people not go to restaurants and movies? Broadway? Isn't it great that Broadway is up and running?
The city doesn't put on the Giants. You know, the city does put on the marathon.
But there are certainly resources consumed by that.
Not like this. I mean, the city puts on this. It's almost like a parade, and they put it through the boroughs, and they put it right past where people are suffering. Again, though, you handle the problem. The government handles that problem. Then nobody cares about the marathon.
But
it's just the fact. Go ahead.
The problems created by Sandy, unfortunately, are going to go on for months, even years in some cases, when you talk about rebuilding.
Yeah, for rebuilding it is, but
truth.
Right now there's some emergency relief that is needed. I'm not talking about building the homes and all that kind of stuff for the insurance money. They need food, and they need clothes, and they need water, and they need that right now. And we have something right here. I got another spot of it. NYU Hospital has just been evacuated, and the problem is that they not only had lost power, they've now lost their backup power. So if you know somebody at NYU Hospital, you might want to check on them because they're not going to be there right now. The NYU Hospital been evacuated. We didn't get any word on where the patients are going to end up at this point, but we do know that everybody is going out of the hospital. And that can be an extremely dangerous situation because so many of the patients count on power for medical equipment. So they're going to other hospitals. You might want to just call and check.
There has been one fatality, a man in Queens, 30 years old, who was hit by a falling tree in Casino Park, and that's a tragedy.
Yeah, and we've had people hit by trees that were running in Prospect Park. And look, we haven't heard the end of this yet. I mean, there's going to be some stories we're going to hear over the next couple of days, and we've been saying this different ways a couple of times over the last few minutes, but we don't know what happened in this storm yet.
That's right.
We know little bits and pieces we really don't know, and you're going to have to stay tuned to PIX over the next 48 hours because that's when the stories are going to start to unfold. We haven't even seen all the floodwaters yet. They're in basements, they're in homes all over the area that we can't get to.
It's been pretty scary, I have to say. It has been pretty scary.
Pretty scary kind of sums it up. I would say that it's been pretty scary for a lot of people the last several hours.
Still scary for all those people without power right now. And
right.
G just talked about the kids. I just checked. The power went off at our house, and I had my little one crying. So it's especially tough for children when the power goes off. They don't even understand electricity. By the way, the power went back on in my house, and my kids said, "We know what electricity is now. We love it." Let's check around the area real quick. We have some pictures to show you. Here is an MTA subway station that was shut down. We just had a spokesperson on from the MTA a little while ago talking about 4 feet of water in some of the subway stations. The subway stations closed indefinitely. Here you have some visual proof of 4 feet of water in a subway station, and the subway stations vacant. Let's now go to Hoboken and take a look at a PATH station. This is an incredible picture of the PATH station. Can we go to the next picture? This is Hoboken. Look at that. Look at the force of the water coming through those doors. Now, this was early on, so we have no idea how bad that PATH station is now. To reiterate the point that we really don't know the damage yet. That's over the next couple of days. But that is the water pouring in from the storm surge. Think about that. Think about where the PATH station is in Hoboken, and the water not only getting there, but getting there with that force that could push through the doors like that. And it just kept pouring in. That's early on. That could have filled up. That's going to be a sight to see tomorrow. We are still watching that crane as it swings. The last time we saw it, it had been still for a while, and the last time we saw it, it started swinging again. So all eyes are on 57th Street in the sky because that thing could come down.
It'd be quite a while before the people have been evacuated, I think, from 3 buildings around that area. Quite a while before they're able to go back home.
If it stays up there, because they have to get a crew up there to secure it. If it falls, think about that for a moment.
I don't
6
want
tons,
to, but you're right.
70 feet, that is going to fall like a missile. And if it hits 57th Street, there will be shrapnel everywhere. It's not only going to put a big hole in the street, it's going to shoot out and affect the apartments and the cars. I hope all the cars are out of there, and the storefronts in the areas. So there's going to be a massive cleanup if that falls. That's if it falls, so people won't be able to get back into the area. If it stays up there, you're going to have to get some people up there to secure it before anybody gets back in there. So you're right. No matter what, it's going to be some time before people get back in there. But what a dramatic scene that is going to be if and when that falls. I want to make sure I get the chance to say this.
All right.
Mr. G has been amazing today.
You are
Just
so right.
Everything he said was going to happen happened within the hour. And I have really never quite witnessed that before, Mr. G. So you did a wonderful job.
Oh, it's a
today.
team effort. Come on, Larry.
No, I'm talking about your forecast in particular. Amazing.
Listen, the last time I got a compliment about my forecast was in 1984.
Heidi and Larry, back to you.
Can I suggest that we show that picture not shot in the monitor because it's sort of whited out. You can't really see how big that wave is right there. That's about a 25-foot wave. They're the kind of waves. Yeah, I know. They're the kind of waves you see in Hawaii.
I mean, you definitely don't want to be surfing these things.
Hey, G, stay there for 1 second, and if you leave G's mic on, because I want to show you something. This is video just in from North Carolina, believe it or not. This is video of a blizzard in North Carolina, snow caused by Sandy. G, comment?
Yeah, I'll give you one.
So we've been centering, which we should do, that's our jobs, we've been centering on New York, but there's a much bigger story going on across the country.
Wow, did you say something like 100 miles wide? Did I hear you say something like that earlier?
900 miles wide.
900, 1,000 miles
Yep.
wide.
Yep.
Wow.
And blizzards and tornadoes and floods and high winds. You've got everything.
It's
you have
crazy.
everything in one storm over this area. And when you say 900 miles, you mean 900 miles going in every direction, 900 square miles.
Exactly right. This storm, in terms of dimension, unequaled.
And it's not just, you talk about Philadelphia's airports,
Yes.
Baltimore's airports, all the New York City airports, Boston's airport. I mean, how many flights is that? How many thousands of people is that? And then over the next few days, they all have to try to fly. And so if you had a flight over the next few days, there's a chance you may not get on that. I mean, this is going to have an
It's a
effect
ripple
on
effect.
air travel
Yes.
for the next couple of weeks. That's part of the reason we're here.
Yes.
We're part of the community. That's
Yes.
why people are watching right now, to all come together and make it through this together. And you know what a wonderful example of that was? Tonight in Battery
That's
Park,
right.
when Stella, I believe, right?
Yes,
Stella,
Stella.
a Pix viewer, brought food to our own Monica Morales. Yes, it is okay to feed the reporters.
And good afternoon to you. I'm Tamsa Medell. Thanks for joining us.
And I'm Larry Mendte. We have a whole lot to catch you up on, so let's get right to it. The damage in New Jersey is massive. Seaside Heights has just been swallowed up by Sandy. It is left nearly gutted. We have video of this, and that is exactly what I'm talking about. Right now, the National Guard is on the scene. In Seaside Heights, they are combing the Jersey Shore for survivors, and at the same time, they are taking on looters. And look at this. Also in Seaside Heights, I'm going to show you what used to be the boardwalk. The casino pier, destroyed. What used to be a roller coaster, now is just sea junk.
It could be 7 to 10 days before service is even restored.
We've got mixed news for commuters right now. The good news is there is limited bus service. Added service will happen tomorrow. Even better news, fares will be waived for today and tomorrow. The bad news, however, the subway system is in horrible shape. Nobody knows when they're going to be able to fix that. And the entire subway system, much of it's underwater. The entire subway system has no power. It came up, and unfortunately, it was just bad timing. She was close to home. There was some water next to her, and it tipped over. And now they're searching for these two boys, and let's just hope that somehow that they survive that. I wish we had more good news to tell you. It seems it's just not a day for good news.
No.
Now, these National Guard guys that are going out right now, men and women, how many of them have served in Afghanistan and Iraq? I imagine this is duty that they enjoy rather than the duty that they probably had to serve in the tours over there.
Yes, a large percentage, I'd say probably close to half.
So they're heroes abroad, they're heroes at home, and the reason I said that they would enjoy this work is because they get to go out and save lives. Rather than have to possibly take lives, they're out there saving lives, and they've done a remarkable job. Colonel, you talked about the men and women under your command. What about yourself? Have you served over in Afghanistan or Iraq?
Yes, I did. I proudly served with the 42nd Infantry Division.
Well, thank you so much for your service. Thank you for what you're doing now. God bless the National Guard. You were always there for us.
I'll see you guys tonight.
Hey, Greg, as I understand it, it is not just the fact that it's water. The subways have flooded before. It's the fact that it is seawater. So even though they pump all this stuff out, the corrosion because of the seawater could make the subways, or at least some of the subways, unsafe, and they would have to start replacing parts. And that's why they have no idea how long this is going to take. Have you heard about what they're going to do with things that possibly have been corroded and infested with the seawater?
Yeah, they got to get down and look at it first. And
it's not even the big pieces.
Right.
It's the little pieces.
Right.
It's the hookups. It's the safety mechanisms. It's getting into all the little nuts and bolts. That's where the corrosion happens, and that's where you can have some horrible things happen. And so they can't even put these trains back online until they test everything and find out exactly what is corroded, because the corrosion will take place for days and weeks and months.
When you look at the number of people affected, I'll tell you what, and businesses affected and As you were
Between
saying,
4 and 5 million. Yeah,
4
that's
and
how
5
many
million.
people take that, and now
It's
they'll have
really
to take the buses.
incredible.
One of the statements, a lot of things stick in your head that you've heard over the last few days from the National Hurricane Center when they called this an epic storm.
Sure.
That stuck in my head. The most devastating disaster in the history of the MTA.
108
that will
years.
always stick in my head.
It
That was from
really-
the head of the MTA.
It's incredible soon that's going to happen.
Let's talk about the cost of this whole thing for a second. What the price tag is going to be. Now you look at some place like Breezy Point, and that is just wiped out. We talked about Teterboro and some of the areas there that were damaged and flooded out. You saw all along the Jersey Shore the damage there. The price tag for that, there's an estimation out there somewhere between $10 and $20 billion. That is just insurance cost. That only pays about half of the damage. You can add another 10 or 20 in FEMA cost, in government cost. That doesn't pay for all of it. There is still some private money to be spent. So we're talking in its entirety of tens of millions of dollars, possibly $40 billion. That's not the big cost. The big cost is the loss of business. The loss of business because of where it hit in major cities, in Washington, D.C., in Philadelphia, in Baltimore, in New York, and Boston, could be 10 times that amount.
It's
big.
hard to even imagine.
So big that it might affect the gross national product in the fourth quarter. Do you know how hard that is to do? We're talking about trillions of dollars. For the number to be in lost business in just a couple of days to affect the gross national product is mind-boggling. But that's what economists are talking about right now.
Have we really ever seen anything like that we could compare it to?
We've had storms that have hit and shut down businesses along the East Coast, but not like this.
No,
this
I don't
is
think so either.
the biggest storm in history, as you've been hearing over and over and over again. The effects were widespread. I'm just talking about the East Coast, but this went all the way out. This affected Chicago. Nothing had to shut down, but it affected businesses there. This affected Cleveland. This affected Pittsburgh. So we're talking about 16 million people that it affected, and I don't know how many businesses, but the economic effect of this storm will be something for the record books, and something we already have a down spiraling. Well, we have a little bit of a recovery, but we had this down spiraling economy that was just starting to recover, and this isn't going to help.
For now, reporting live from Teterboro, Marvin Scott, Pix 11 News. Back to you guys.
All right, Marvin, thank you.
We cannot say enough about the first responders in New Jersey who saved 400 families in not even 24 hours, in probably the last 14 hours. 400 families from the floodwaters after that natural berm broke and poured into several communities. So wonderful job, and what a heartwarming shot we saw the last time we saw Marvin. National Guard truck pulled up right behind him, a family in there, a little girl clinging onto her dog. They actually had 3 dogs in that family, so they were still saving people up until just about a half an hour ago.
Those